The buses arrived just before sunrise. A short time later, security brought out their dog to check over the piles of cameras and photographic equipment.
Everything good from there.
And with those words, people and gear were loaded onto the buses. It was less than 48 hours to the launch of the Shuttle Endeavour, and these photographers, representing newspapers, magazines, and wire services, were here to place remote cameras to capture the launch. Scott Andrews of Canon was here helping out.
Unfortunately, we can't be standing here to watch the majesty of the launch, so we're allowing the sound itself to activate these still cameras.
You couldn't survive watching the launch from this spot. It's only a quarter of a mile from the pad. So photographers like the Orlando Sentinel's Red Huber, who's been shooting shuttle launches since the start of the shuttle program, set out these motor-driven cameras. The roar of the shuttle launch will start these sound-activated motors running and cameras clicking. When the launch is over, Red's 6 cameras will provide him with hundreds of pictures.
It's a night launch. I'm trying to throw a little flash and light some flowers, trying to get the shuttle lifting off with the flowers in the foreground lit. Just trying to bring the reader something different.
The day's setup was a bit different because of this fellow. Dave Cyrak is a news operations manager at WFTV Channel 9. Dave brought out 4 high-definition video cameras. His hope? Be the first television station to capture the launch on video, up close, and in HD using remote cameras. Dave worked for several weeks on the setup.
What we have underneath the hood here is a Sony HDV camera, one of the better of the HD version. We got a timer set to go off at about 2:15 in the morning. The launch is about 2:28.
That timer triggers another box that powers up the camera, and if all goes well, starts the recording. Dave placed 2 of his cameras on this small mound. Just a few feet away, Canon's Scott Andrews helped a group of Japanese photographers set up for the launch. They were here because Japan played a big part in this mission. A Japanese astronaut and a Japanese module for the space station were aboard.
We bring photographers out that say they work for a local paper in Des Moines, Iowa, and there happens to be an astronaut from that area that's going up on the flight. They'll normally send 1 or 2 photographers to the launch who have absolutely no clue. I mean, they're good with long lenses and they can make a great picture from back at the press site, but they don't know really how to do this. So we take them under our wing and loan them equipment and basically walk them through the whole steps of making a good tight shot of the shuttle from a real close distance.
With the cameras secured at this spot, the photographers moved to other locations around the shuttle. They're a dedicated bunch, and they're creative.
Yeah, the mailbox seems to work real well.
Fighting his way through the brush, Dave found another popular spot. A shot over water at night should provide spectacular photos and video. Typically, the cameras sit out here for nearly 2 days before a launch. Bill Mitchell of the Village's Daily Sun figures he's photographed 50 to 75 shuttle launches. He said strange things happened in those 2 days.
One of them, I came back and a bird had been started to build a nest in the back of the box, and you can see the twigs and everything in there. And one of the last launches, a guy had a spider that had started to build a nest on the back of the monitor of his camera.
Finally, it was off to a third spot, which offered a great look at the shuttle. And then, for Dave Cyrak and the other photographers, it's the waiting game.
And you're really running through the checklist in your mind to make sure that you had your settings correctly, like autofocus is turned off, and that you've got your exposure set correctly, and that you've armed all the timers and that sort of thing. So I was very nervous leading up to the launch for a lot of reasons.
Early Tuesday morning, a bit after 2 a.m., the launch window was approaching. In the press center, reporters and photographers waited. And finally, it was time. Now this is where the press sees the launch from a safe distance of 3 miles. It's an impressive sight from here. So with Endeavour safely on its way and the countdown clock counting up, the next step is to head out into the swamp, grab the cameras, and find out what worked and what didn't. Finally, at nearly 4 o'clock in the morning, Dave and the others were back into the brush and swamps to retrieve camera gear. Dave anxiously fired up the first camera to see what, if anything, he got.
We were just about a couple hours away from doing really a 24-hour shift, so I was low on sleep, and I ran out to the first camera, took off the cover, and I could see that the camera had rolled, but it had stopped for some reason before the launch. And I was really concerned about the other cameras, and maybe the same thing had happened there.
The second camera was a happier story.
That's beautiful.
And then it was back to the water's edge to pick up the third camera. There were bugs, branches, but beautiful video. Finally, Dave picked up the last of the 4 cameras and on the drive back, took a look.
T-minus 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
A short time later, Dave was in the satellite truck feeding back video, giving Orlando viewers their first look at locally captured, high-definition close-up video from unique angles of a shuttle launch.
Overall, 3 out of 4 cameras is a really good record. And what I'm hoping now is that on the next launch, we'll get 4 for 4, and then we'll be able to use this technology on these remote cameras on stories other than space, like maybe hurricane coverage and sports, to give us those up-close views that really look great in high definition.
At the Kennedy Space Center, I'm Bruce Wiley for WFTV.com.